What is going on, Sabres fans, and welcome to another episode of Sabres Spotlight with your host Matt and Ryan. Ryan, what's going on?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm back. They
We're
said
back.
they said he wasn't coming back, but he came back. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Yeah, it was weird last week being solo. I was like, it's funny because I feel like every time we record, even though this is like show number 40 now, I still you get a little butterflies in your stomach. You can't help but get a little jittery before the show starts. And I had like way more like when I was solo. I think it's just because it's harder talking to yourself than having someone to talk to. But I was like, oh man, but it worked out good. I feel like it was a good episode. So you listen, right?
Yeah, I listened while I cut the grass, and it was actually a really good episode. I enjoyed it. You did a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
job.
yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. But what's new with you? It's been probably about a month since the listeners have at least heard your sweet, sweet voice on the pod. So
I
what's
I
new?
know. Nothing new with me. Just hanging out. I think in a month or so, you might have to be doing some more solo pods because I'm going to be preoccupied a little bit. But nothing really crazy going on in my household. Tonight at least, I'm exhausted. I was on vacation for a couple weeks. We didn't really do a whole lot, and then I went back to work. And it's very hard to be a mailman when you're on vacation for a little bit, and then you go back to work and have to walk like 10, 11 miles a day. So
No, I
I'm a
get
week
that.
back. I'm a week back at work, and life is just smooth sailing right now.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah. So there's some changes if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Spotify. I'm sure you can see the studio over here at my place has gotten some upgrades. We got can't see it, but I got the boom mic here. I was having a little audio issues last time, and if you've been listening, I've had you probably noticed this tapping on our shows the last few pods, and it's definitely me, and I blame Ryan for it. Like a couple months ago, I was like, "Dude, clean it up," and it was me all along. So
Yeah,
hopefully this solves our issue. If not, and it's still happening, then
then it's
I don't
definitely
know.
me.
Then I don't know what the hell is going on, but we got that upgrade. I got the double lights tonight, so we can see some of our sweet signage in the back here a little bit better. And I got a new do. I got haircuts
Yeah,
since the last
yeah,
show
you look
too.
great.
So
You look great.
yeah, yeah, forehead
Yeah,
is shining.
I'm ready to talk some puck. This is year two for us on the podcast, and it's cool because at first we were like, let's just do it. We don't even care if five people listen. We're just two friends. We like talking about the Sabres, and whoever listens listens. And now I kind of feel like we're not in the triple digits of like followers yet, which is like peanuts, but it's kind of like building there. Like every like week or two, we get like multiple people following the Twitter or the podcast like a day. So it is kind of fun, and I feel like with the season wrapping up, people might be searching for podcasts and listen to us two dumbasses talk on the mic. Just talk about Sabres hockey. So I'm pretty excited to interact with you guys this year. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everybody who has followed along, who followed along last season. It's going to be cool heading into season 2 doing this. And for anyone who maybe found the show more recently, spread the word. Tell your friends about it. The more people that listen, the better, and the more people that can interact and that we can have fun with during the season. That's really cool. So looking forward to getting the season going in just under a month here, which is pretty crazy to think that in 30 days the Sabres will be starting their season overseas, and we'll see what happens. The Prospects Challenge coming up in a couple weeks, but as far as today's show goes, we're going to start going around the league. There's been some things that happened over the last couple weeks since we had that last show, and then with football season right around the corner and everybody probably finishing up their fantasy football drafts, we got some Sabres sleepers, breakouts, and busts that we're going to do a little bit later on. And then we got some Twitter information we want to share with some folks here, and then we're going to get back to some goofballs this week. We got a couple prime goofballs coming up later in the show, so make sure you stick around for that. But we'll start with around the league and the big, perhaps, well, one of the big storylines, but between now and last was the Patrick Laine news. So we got to make sure we talk about this. This happened probably a week and a half ago, so it's not newer, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it. So when you heard this news here, Ryan, what was your initial thoughts as far as the Line A move to Montreal goes, and obviously Buffalo, not getting anything done there?
Well, my first thought was good for Line for getting out of Columbus. He clearly wanted to have a fresh start, and despite my one of my other first thoughts was Montreal is such a pressure cooker in terms of how hardcore their fan base is and the media there, and with Patrick Laine, who's admittedly struggled with his mental health over the last couple of years, I was kind of like, is that really the best spot for him? But at the same time, Montreal is one of the best cities in the world to live in. And if you're a good hockey player there, that fan base will absolutely love you. So I'm stoked for Line A. I'm disappointed that the Sabres didn't, you know, get him, but that's a conversation for another day. I think they beat that horse to death over the summer about getting a top six forward. But, good for Line A and good for Columbus too for getting rid of his whole contract with no retention. So this is pretty much a win-win all around for the person, Patrick Laine, and for the Blue Jackets as a team.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean it is a huge win for Columbus, not retaining any salary, and it's kind of like I guess it's kind of a low risk move for Montreal as well. Like you have the space, so you can bring him in, and if it works out, it works out. If not, I think he's got 2 years left on that deal, so then you can just kind of move on. And at that moment in time, that's when Montreal is expecting to maybe be a little bit more competitive, anyways. So I think it for the timing of their team, it works out. It just like it probably would have worked out for Buffalo. I wonder, like, what do you think was the hiccup with Buffalo? Do you think there was like a really strong interest there, and like things were like there was heavy conversations, or do you think that we never really had like a super big shot? That's
I
kind of
don't
where I
think
lean.
I don't that we didn't really that there was it wasn't real is what you're saying.
I think they were interested, and like Kevin Adams always says, his famous like, "Oh, I'm always gonna look to make our team better." I feel like he made calls, but I feel like there was probably not much there.
Yeah, I think us as fans, like we kind of would have been like, this is great, this is fun, but I think the archetype of player that they're looking for is not Patrick Laine. So yeah, I don't think the interest was real, like at all.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna bring this up now because it makes sense. I put a poll up on Twitter to see, do fans and people around the league think that the Sabres or the Montreal Canadiens have now passed the Sabres in terms of their top six. We discussed this a handful of shows ago, going through the top sixes, and we kind of said the Sabres in our rankings kind of fit into that like maybe 13, 14 range, like as actually having like a decent top six. Everyone wants that top six winger addition to kind of put them over the edge and make them a legit playoff competitor right now. But as far as the with the line A edition here, do you think that moves Montreal above the Sabres now, or do you think they're kind of even keel? Would you still give the Sabres the edge? Because the vote was 60% in favor of Montreal. So I'm a little
Really?
interested.
It was? Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't even see that poll. Um, I'm kind of shocked by that, to be honest with you. I know that we're all down on the Sabres. Everyone's in their big feelings about, this team and their lack of spending to the cap and their disappointing seasons and not being in the playoffs for 13 seasons. But come on. The Montreal Canadiens are nowhere near the Sabres in terms of top six firepower. It's they're okay. They're better. Like they should be better. Another year of Nick Suzuki, another year of Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield, by the way, the only 40 goal scorer in the NHL who's never touched 30 goals. The guy
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
one of the most overhyped players in hockey, in my opinion. But we're all down on the Sabres, and no, I don't think Montreal has surpassed us in terms of forward firepower. Let's get real here.
Yeah. So, I mean, just look at comparing the top lines. Tage for the Sabres, obviously, Tage, Thompson, and Paterka. And then Montreal, you got Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield. Like, I give the edge to the Sabres there,
Yeah,
mainly
I
because of
and I like, and
Tage.
I'm a Slavkovsky truther. I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But no, what's their second line? What does it say on Daily Faceoff?
Oh, you know what? I just realized I said Tage, Tage Thompson and Paterka. It's Tage. So Tuck, Tage, and Paterka.
I thought you said Tuck. I thought you said Tuck. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
All of the listeners, half the listeners probably caught that, and half probably didn't. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but I know what you meant. But what is their second line? And we know what our second line like maybe.
So their second line is Newhook, Doc, and Line.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
terrible.
we're assuming ours is Zucker, Cousins, and Quinn.
Yeah, no, no, no. No. Like,
Yeah,
guys, come on. We're down bad, but we're not that down bad. I promise. I promise it'll be better than them.
we're not that down bad. I love it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay, cool. Well, we can move on from there then. Matty Benier signs a 7-year extension with the Seattle Kraken. Thought this was significant just because of the link with Beniers and Owen Power. Obviously, Owen Power was selected number one the same year that Matty Beniers was drafted number two. So that was back in 2021. They both played on the same team at Michigan. And Matty Beniers, he won the 2023 Calder Cup trophy. He had 24 goals, 57 points. He's going to be Seattle's top line center this season. A little bit of a down year last year. I can't remember if he was injured or not, but I know he was not as efficient last year. That whole team really took a step back last year, so I guess that makes sense to a degree. But interesting numbers here: 49 or 7.14 AAV, uh, definitely lower than Power by about a million. So, what do you think about this extension for Beniers?
Well, he kind of got like the Cousins deal or the Tage deal, right?
Yeah,
Similar AAV. That's good. It's fine for Seattle. I mean, like you said, he took a step back last year, but that was kind of more like sophomore slump kind of thing. Like he still had pretty good like puck, like offensive zone, um, like gain the blue line. I'm blanking on the metric right now, but he was definitely like still a good puck carrier. The points just didn't come for him. So he's Seattle's cornerstone piece. They had to pay him. And these kids, man, they're getting bags early.
yeah,
Early.
they
They're
are. They
locking it
are.
up. So good for him. Honestly, it's great. And it's great for Seattle, and their fans love him. So that's a good deal.
Well, he's got a nice ceiling, and if he reaches that, and he's your top line center, 7.14 is not going to be a bad contract for
Yeah,
the
people,
term of
I
that.
mean, you even said that he regressed a little bit. I don't think for a sophomore, 19-year-old in the NHL, 57 points is that bad.
No, that was his 20. That was his rookie year.
Well, 20, oh, rookie year was that. What did he have
Yeah,
last year?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what did he have last year? What did he have last year?
I can look it up real quick. If you want to go on to the next point there, I'll let you
Well, no,
mention
we
Ezra.
can just talk about him a little, like it's, it's, Seattle is just a weird team for me in general. Like, yeah, they regressed last year, but I kind of don't think about them a whole lot. And them being out on the West Coast, it is tough to stay up for their games a little bit.
Yeah,
But
last year he was 15 and 22, so
oh
37
yeah, so
points last year.
he had a rough year. Holy
Yeah,
shit! So
minus 11, plus 14 the previous year.
injury could have injury could have played a part in that. And if they're gonna pay the guy over $7 million a year, then they clearly believe in him. So we'll
Yeah,
see what happens there. That's good for him.
I mean, unless he was banged up, kind of like a Tage thing, and it was nagging. But he did play in 77 games. Shooting percentage was way down. Shooting percentage was down like from 16.2 to like 11.3. So those players, he can bounce back. We'll see what he does this year. But either way, I think it'll be end up being a fine contract for him, and I'm fine with the Owen Power deal as well, especially with the step I think he's going to take this year. But moving on, San Jose Sharks traded for goalie Yaroslav Askarov. This was after the news that Nashville he requested a trade from Nashville, saying that he wasn't going to report to their AHL Milwaukee team. Kind of a bold move. Sometimes that doesn't always work out, but he gets traded to the Sharks, who it kind of makes sense for them. I mean, if you look at their goalie room right now, they got Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood, and you would think at the very least he's the second goalie with the chance to earn their starting role there realistically.
Uh, I'm kind of shocked by this. Like how we before Nashville made all their like went crazy on free agency. Like I feel like consensus was kind of that they'd have to move on um from Saros eventually, and
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Askarov would be the guy there.
Yeah,
But you kind of pivot after signing Saros to a mega deal, and then Askarov is like, if I'm not going to be the guy here, you kind of got to move me, and he is a better NHL prospect than Devin Levi. So at some point, the kid was like, "Hey, if I'm not going to get the crease, you kind of got to move me, and I want to see action." And if he wants to see action, he got traded to the right team because he's going to see a ton of rubber in San Jose.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
a bad hockey team right there. Like that, they're rebuilding. I like Mike Grier's vision, but that's a bad squad. He is going to be pegged with pucks every night.
So yeah, it is a good landing spot for him as far as playing time and proving yourself. He has not started a lot of games in this league, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season. It was funny because when I saw the news at first, I was like, "You think of Devin Levi right away,"
Yep.
But I think I feel like honestly, I'm not worried about that with Devin Levi because first off, the deal that UPL signed is only 5 years, and we've talked about how that can still work out for both guys. And I feel like Adams and Levi and his team have kind of had very honest conversations about things, and they know there's a vision there. And I just don't see this happening with Devin Levi as far as like the turmoil goes. But it works out for Askarov. We'll get into the Hurricanes next, signing forward Seth Jarvis to an 8-year, $63.2 million deal. He was the number 13 overall pick in the 2020 NHL draft. 22 years old, had 33 goals and 67 points last season. So Hurricanes lock up Jarvis on their top line and figures into a nice top six for the Hurricanes. Any thoughts there?
Let me see one thing first. Okay, yeah, that was the same year. So that was the same year that Jack Quinn got drafted. Um, that was the COVID year, so they didn't play much, and there was just limited scouting. And for Carolina to get this player 13th overall, just a boon for them. I love this guy. This guy might be one of my favorite players in the league. His personality is infectious. He's one of the guys like on other teams that I kind of just love watching their media because he's just out there. He's a character. He's a cartoon. He's funny. And his play on the ice, being like a smaller player, I admire how willing he is to get to the dirty areas and score goals and just do all the right things to help his team win. So this is a nice deal for Carolina, a team that I generally can't stand, but I do like Seth Jarvis.
Yeah, and I wonder if them not retaining Gensel, because for a while there was all the talk about how you're probably not going to sign Natchez and Jarvis back. Obviously, Gensel moves on, and I wonder if that was kind of the thing that's like, okay, well, since we couldn't retain him, let's try and get both of these guys back. And I know Natchez kind of took like a bridge deal, and he's going to try and turn that into a bigger contract down the road. But I mean, it's interesting that they retain both guys, and I wonder if they're okay with that, or if they think losing Gensel is more of a hurt as far as like better upside out than what they retain. It'll be interesting.
Right.
I think Carolina's a team that will be good again because they're always good, but they might take a small step back. But I still think they're going to have just a fine season. But
With Rod there, I just feel like their ceiling is Stanley Cup winner, and their their floor is like we're out in the second round. So they're going to be good, like you said.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's just can they get over that hump? Like Carolina has been the team that has needed to win a cup for like the last 4 seasons now. Like they have been right there, and they just keep disappointing. But honestly, for my sake, I hope they never win.
Well, from one team that needs to win to a cup to another one, the Edmonton Oilers, who lock up their one of their big dogs, Leon Draisaitl, to an 8-year, $112 million deal, a historic deal. $14 million AAV surpasses Austin Matthews as the number one contract in the NHL at the present. At least you figure at least until Connor McDavid, signs his next contract there. But a nice deal. They got it done, and they had to get it done. I mean,
Yeah. What can you say? What can you say about it? I mean, this guy is what at minimum the third best player, like at minimum like the top three best player in the world. Like on his day, better than anyone else on the planet at hockey. So they had to do it. They had to give him the money, and it's just well deserved. Just that he was unbelievable in the playoffs. Like the one episode we recorded, I remember that I said that I think Draisaitl's having a better playoff than McDavid, and then McDavid just popped off like right after that. Finally, he got going. But before that, Draisaitl was carrying Edmonton. Like he made the Kings look terrible every night, like single handedly. He was unbelievable. So good for him. He was banged up again in the playoffs and still produced like he normally does. He's just a wonderful hockey player. I love this guy.
yeah. I wonder if he like gives a little like $1 million, like $1 million to McDavid just to say, hey, thanks for giving me all this cheddar.
And he also gives $1 million to the Kings organization for letting him pad stats every playoff.
Yeah, exactly. Just for those who helped you along the way, Unfortunately, we'll get to this news last. I wanted to make sure we gave it the time and the attention that it deserves. This uh, the news of Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, kind of shook the NHL world. Well, not just the NHL world. I think the entire sports world when something like this happens that's unthinkable, unimaginable, especially just hearing all the family members talk afterwards and what this loss we endure this loss as fans of the game, but none of us personally knew him. You think about family members who lost a dad, who lost a significant other. It's just horrible. I can't even imagine it. And his it's hard to put into words. It's hard to find the words to say. Nothing's going to make it better. time Time will never make it better. um, it's just we just want to extend our condolences to the family and everybody who met him and was influenced by him, and everyone's talked about how awesome a person he was and how influential he was not only on the game of hockey but everybody around it and everybody that he came into contact with, and I'm sure his brother was as well. And I just want to say sorry to all the loved ones, and thank you for what he did for the hockey community and the world, and in a time when it's hard to find good people in the world, and we lost a couple good ones here. So
Yeah,
just
dude,
very saddened by
honestly,
this news.
everything that you've heard about this story is like just the worst possible thing you can hear. Like it just keeps getting worse. Like no matter what you read, it's like you can't even put it into words how awful the story is. Guys, can you please not drink and drive? Like the man that hit him should be behind bar hit both of them and killed them should be behind bars for the rest of his life. Drinking and driving is a selfish act, and if you do it, you are literally the lowest of the low. There are so many outlets now, so many outlets for you to get home safely. You do not need to get behind a vehicle after drinking. You have Uber, you have Lyft, you might even have a family member that can pick you up. This man chose to get behind the wheel and ended the lives of two wonderful men. One of them being a nine-time, seven-time, nine-time All-Star, I'm not sure, and his brother, who by all accounts was an even better person than Johnny was a hockey player. And it's just so sad to think about how we're grieving as fans and we don't even know these guys.
Hmm.
And for that family, I can't even begin to think what they're going through. Like the fact that they were there for their sister's wedding, which was the following morning, is just devastating. Like this family will never forget this tragedy. And like you said, our condolences just go to the Goudreau family. And please don't drink and drive. Like just please do not do it. It will end someone's life that does not deserve to die.
Yeah, that's well said, man. That's well said. I just I even before this tragic thing happened, we've had multiple conversations ourselves, over the last couple months just about just how scary driving a car is nowadays,
Yep.
between people who are texting on their phones, between I can't even tell you how many people I've seen just ignore stop signs, ignore red lights, and just make up their own rules on the road. Obviously, drinking and driving is one of the worst things you can do. Even something as simple as driving tired, like just make smart decisions, and when you're out there and these things happen to people, say, oh, it's not going to happen to me, or I can just do it this one time. I can guarantee you everybody that has done something like this man has done and murdered these two people has said that same thing. It's not going to happen to me. It can very easily happen to you, and it will change everything for you and for many other people that are affected. And just take those extra seconds to make the right decision, because it can not only save your life, but other people's. And just do what you can to just think about not only yourself on the road, but everyone else that's with you, because we have one planet. We're all on this planet together, and it's our job to be civil and be the best person that we can be for everybody else. So,
Yeah, that's also well said. And, pretty much the final thing I want to say about this is just, if you got loved ones in your life, like make sure that you're telling them how much you love them frequently. Your friends, your family, like just make sure that they know that you love them and that, they love you too. It is nice to just tell your boys, even you men out there. Like I know this is mostly men that listen to the podcast. Tell your homies you love them. They're gonna love it, dude. Trust me. Make sure
oh
that
yeah,
they know. Make sure that they know.
yep, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Johnny, we're gonna miss you, man, and hopefully you're, at peace. And to the family, again, we just extend our heartfelt condolences to everybody. And I think with that, we will. You want to transition into some Sabres talk here now?
Yeah, let's get back into the good vibes. We had to have that conversation, but man, it really just wrecks me. Yeah, let's get back in. Let's get back into Sabres.
All right, folks. Well, like we said at the beginning of the episode here, we're recording this show on Wednesday, which means tomorrow night at this time, everybody will be watching some football.
Oh my
And
goodness. We're back. The
we're
sports are
back.
sportsing, guys.
Yep, we're back. We're getting close. Football tomorrow, football this weekend. So we're gonna do some Sabres sleepers, breakout, and busts on the show today. I'm gonna lead this one off, and we don't really have one of each. I have a couple things, that a couple players I want to highlight. Ryan, you can go through, however many people you want to go through. And
I love when we
uh,
do stuff like this in our little doc and I don't write anything because I like to surprise you.
so but I'm the opposite end of the spectrum, where like I need things written down. So it's yeah, it's just so funny. But I do have a surprise for you in a little bit, which I'm excited for. But my first person I want to bring up here as a sleeper is Ryan Johnson. And I think for me, this can take a lot of different forms next season. I'm not even necessarily saying that this breakout has to come at the NHL level, because I don't know if he's going to be on the NHL roster. And if he is, he's probably going to be competing for that seventh defenseman spot, or be a guy who's not necessarily playing game in and game out. But I like what I saw from him last year when he kind of needed to play out of necessity, and he played 41 games with the Sabres last season. He did tally 7 assists, with a +3 rating, and he played almost 14 minutes a game. So it's not like he was, he played these 41 games and was only getting 6 or 7, minutes. He was getting decent minutes, and there were times when you could see that he was not an NHLer quite yet, but I thought I saw a lot of nice plays from him. I remember one play specifically. I forget which game it was, but he tied up a guy right at the blue line, and made like a nice outlet pass, and sprung someone for a breakout. Like I see flashes from him during the season, and I'm interested to see what that can be. I don't know if this needs to happen next year, but if this I'm saying this breakout is a possibility in the AHL level, because he's likely going to be running the Amerks power play, if he's down in Rochester. And I think he can put up a really nice season in Rochester, and to the point where if he does get some games in the NHL, he can be a serviceable defenseman that we need, say, in when Sammy, notoriously gets injured, or we need a guy. I think he can be kind of that first call up off the bench, if not a roster spot, from the get go.
I like it. So my sleeper is not a player. My
Okay, I was
sleeper
I was wondering if someone was going to do this.
my sleeper is the Buffalo Sabres power play. Last
Okay, okay.
season, the Sabres finished 29th in the NHL with a power play percentage of 16.6. That is absolutely brutal. Brutal. Top five, bottom five in the league. Well, let me just say let's go through what contributed to that, in my opinion. Tactically, tactically, we were boring. We pretty much just spent a minute and 20 seconds of the power play having Darlene shoot from the point or Tage rip clap outs. With the addition of Seth Appert, we're gonna have so many more set plays on the power play. And I think the personnel too is another thing that's very interesting to me because Zach Benson specifically was underutilized on the power play. And if I'm going through my power play units right now, I have him on the second power play with a Jason Zucker for a veteran presence, net front guy, Benson in the middle, and then Jack Quinn on the wing with Owen Power running the power play, and then stick another guy out there if you want, maybe like a Byram or something. So that
Yeah, yeah,
second power play, if we can get that cooking, even a little bit, and I know they won't get a lot of ice time because the first power play with Paterka, Tuck, Tage, Darlene, and who else might be on it? Let me see. Maybe a Cousins. They'll get the bulk of the starts. I just have so much confidence in the shooting talent on this team, and I think they were historically unlucky shooting the puck last year. And like I said, man, the tactics were just so boring. Like there were times last year where we would text each other, and I would text other people, and even the online sentiment of the Sabres, where we'd get a power play, we'd joke around and be like, "Can we decline it?" Because it was so bad.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just think about where we could go with a decent power play. I'm not even saying like they're going to jump from, you know, 16% to, 20, 28%. Like, 28% is, well, actually, that's leading the league. 28.6 was the Lightning last year. Let's say they jump from 16 to, 22%, 21%.
Yeah,
That's a
I was gonna
top
say
10 power play.
22. Yeah.
There's so many contributing factors for why that could be like the main source of improvement on the team. So that's why they're my sleeper. And I will just say, if we get a healthy Jack Quinn, oh my God, look out. He could be a power play merchant with that shot.
Yeah, I like you, man. I like it. I mean, we talked about last year how the power play probably cost us, and I mentioned this on last episode, probably 4 or 5 games in itself last year, just from the inability to generate chances in some of those games that ended up being a 1 goal game, and you had 5 chances on the power play and you couldn't capitalize. Like there was a handful of games last year where you could have gotten at a minimum 1 points, if not 2 points. Say you get those, 6, 7, 10 points, like you're right there competing for a playoff spot, and that is with all the bad tactics in play, right? So the Sabres were historically, well, I don't know about historically, but they were brutal last year as far as like shot percentage goes.
I
Like they
mean,
had
dude,
some horrible
I
puck
gotta
luck.
interrupt you. Dylan Cousins could not buy a goal. The guy
Right.
was, he's a 30 goal scorer the previous season, was getting himself in decent chances to score, and it just would not go in. So you got to think that reverses for him
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, kind of crazy that he still had 18, last season with like everything that was going on, and just this season that was Cousins last year. But so all that to say that like last year I think undershot, whereas the year before overshot. You're
Right.
somewhere in the middle. Like you're somewhere in the middle there. So if you can just get to the middle, you kind of what we are thinking is your mean, but just improve tactically with some of the coaching changes between Ruff and Appert, and just having better processes throughout and making better lineup decisions, like you're saying, and just kind of optimizing player performance on both lines. I think that could be huge. So that's a nice one. That's a little wrench you threw in there, and I like it.
Thanks, dude. Like I'm just thinking about it, like even extrapolating on my points in my own head right now. A good power play that generates chances gives confidence to your players. Like
Hmm.
let's say, we're getting a ton of shots on the power play, a ton of good shots. That might carry over to your 5-on-5 game where it's like, all right, guys, we can get to the areas we need to score. And if stuff starts going in, then you know that goals come in bunches. So
Yep.
I'm just excited for the little wrinkles that they're going to have in the power play, and God help us if it doesn't improve.
Yeah, I mean, we literally saw your point right there work inversely last season, where like we had a power play chance and we could generate nothing, and you can tell how it just kind of flattened the team. Like
Yep.
you have to be able to use those power plays at times. Like you said, even if you don't score, if you generate a couple scoring chances that have been hard to come by that night or whatever, like you get momentum. If you're at home, you get some buzz in the building just from getting some excitement in the crowd and things. So it's huge. It's definitely a big piece of something that they need to improve next year. So I like that. All right, I'm going to get into my next breakout here, which is going to be Owen Power. And for Power, he's entering his fourth, truly just his third full season in the NHL. But this is year one of his 7-year deal. So this is the first year where he's being paid as an 8 million plus player in the league. And I I think he's ready to make that step. I know we've always been fans of Owen Power on this show, even last year when he got a lot of shit, which I think
Too much,
was
like
too,
undeserved.
yeah, too much, too much. He's not he's not a perfect player, and I'm not saying he's going to become a perfect player, but for me here, I think it just kind of it matters how you define the term breakout, and for me, as far as points go, like if he could be a say a 15 goal, 35 assist guy, that would be great. 50 points. I kind of think that might be his ceiling as far as points go. He had 35 points his rookie year, 4 goals, 31 assists. Last season he had 33, 6 goals, 27 assists. He's going to be on the power play, so I think natural progression is coming for him. Where I need him to progress is things I've mentioned in the past of just analyzing the game a little quicker. That's going to slow down for him as he goes. He's a player who when we drafted, we were just starting, and you thrust a guy in there and you can't just expect him to be handed all these responsibilities and just excel in all of them. These guys still
Especially on
have to,
defense.
especially on defense, like you said, there's so much more you have to analyze because it's not just get the puck at the midline and go try to make a guy miss or gain entry in the puck and swing it around. Like he is responsible for defending. He's responsible for breaking the puck out of the zone, bringing the puck through the neutral zone, defending the blue line. He was getting power play time right away. So
He
there's
got penalty kill time at points last year.
yeah, there's a lot of things that are on his plate. That's a lot for a young kid to digest, and I think it's unfair early on after just these couple seasons. I know he's a number one pick, but he's still a young kid. And I think year three is the year where you see him kind of put it all together in the mental side of things and see that game kind of slow down on him on the ice, which is going to in turn make his play faster because he's processing things better. I also think you might see him get a little bit more physical. I think it takes guys time to do that. You almost feel like you have to kind of earn a little respect in the league before you just want to throw your body around a little bit. Like I get that, and he's a big guy. I don't need him to be a bruiser. I don't want him to be. He doesn't.
Yeah,
He
you're right.
doesn't.
You don't need him to be Chara.
He does. Yeah, he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be an enforcer. But I would like to see him, throw the body around a little bit more like Don Layton. I think this is the year you start to see him do that, especially with some of that Lindy Ruff, influence. So again, this is a long-winded way of me saying that there's a lot of things I think he can improve on that I think we will see him improve on next season. And it's not going to be the flashy point per game guy. That's not going to be him. But I think he's due for a big year, and I can see it happening.
Dude, I think I love this player just because, like you said, he doesn't need to add like major physicality, but he's 6'6". If you can learn, and it's a lot of learning too. A lot of it is learning how to use your frame. If he can learn to use his frame to box out, or use his frame to go get a puck in the corner and stick his ass out and get the puck and move it up the ice and like effectively, because we already know, everyone knows that, at least if you're not being disingenuous and just trying to hate for hate's sake, if Owen Power carries the puck, he's one of the best puck carriers in the league on defense. He carries the puck through the neutral zone at a rate higher than, I think it's a top 10 rate of zone entry success for defensemen. He's very good at it. And shit, I thought he was coming around like offensively, even in the offensive zone. Like he kind of has like a little bit of a boring offensive game in the zone because he's big, he's lanky, he's a great skater, but finding those soft pockets in the ice in the offensive zone is difficult for a young player, and it took Darlene a little bit of time to learn that aspect of the offensive game too. Like he was really good even in his 18-year-old year of carrying the puck up the ice. Like it was incredible, just like Power is. So I agree that he might not have the Darlene ceiling in terms of like goal scoring or point producing, but I definitely believe he can be a mainstay on the second pair and second power play and be one of the best value players in the league.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I do want to just toss in there that he is a shootout assassin too. So
Yeah,
that's
oh, dude,
just also
unreal. Like I love this shootout because it's so funny. Like there are guys around the league that are just so oddly unreal at the shootout, and his move is so just it just works. I don't understand
it does.
how. Like, how do you figure out that you're really good in the shootout? Like, how? I don't
I know,
understand.
I know.
I get that they do it in like a lot of NHL teams will do like a shootout at the end of practice, and it's like a silly thing for teams to do. But coaches kind of notice if you're just like going bar down every time, you're getting in the damn shootout.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before you go on, because you said one thing there that it sparked a thought in my mind about like young players finding the pockets on the ice and scoring
Yeah.
opportunities. Dude, that's why I thought Benson's rookie year was so impressive, man.
Yep.
Because like
I agree.
that guy, dude, the mentals on him are insane, and I'm excited to watch him play next year because he's already got so much of that down, man, and he's got a lot of potential there. But
When I think about Benson, the first thing I think of is there was a I don't think it was in the Matt Savoy draft video. I think it was in the Zach Benson draft video when I can't recall which scout or if it was Jason Carmanos or someone in the Sabres organization talking to the camera and they said, yeah, even 2 years ago when we were scouting Matt Savoy, we saw this other kid on his line, Zach Benson. We're like, he's better. Like he's better than
yeah,
him at
yeah,
at his age already. So it just goes to show, like, I don't think Zach Benson was out of position a single time last year
no,
as a teenager. Like he is just in the right spot at the right time. Like you said, that is he's a smart player.
yeah, he's just got to bring those penalty minutes down.
Well, he's a dirty player, right? He's
Oh
got
my god,
all the
hey.
all those dirty slashes and hooks he was doing last year. He had to sit in the box for a while.
Oh my god. That was
The
brutal. That
Zach
was
Benson
brutal.
phantom penalty clips, like whoever clipped it together at the end of last year, you're my hero because I've never seen a player get so many penalties for doing absolutely nothing like
Oh
he
my
did.
god. It was so bad. It was
Like
so bad.
like part of me like conspiracy that he was telling the refs, I got to get on the score sheet tonight. Can you get me on the score sheet? 2 minutes. That's all I need.
I wonder if like the boys in practice give him shit for it. You feel like they have to, right?
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, Zach Benson comes around, dirtiest player in the league. Get him away from
Yeah.
me.
That'd be so that would be so funny. All right, you got anything else here?
Yeah. So your breakout was Owen Power. My breakout, I already talked about him today because I love him so much. My breakout player for the Sabres for 2024 is Jack Quinn. This man was robbed of a season last year. Just robbed. It was in what, like May or June? We're just chilling. We're chilling in the summer, maybe drinking a beer on the back patio, whatever you're doing. And we get an alert on our phones that Jack Quinn tore his Achilles. And he wasn't coming back until Christmas time. Oh my God, that just like sunk my heart last year because
Mm-hmm.
he was poised to have the JJ Paterka year, and look what happened for JJ Paterka. He was unbelievable. Jack Quinn, I think, can do the same thing. He is going into his third season, hopefully his first full healthy season. He kind of has injury bug issues, man. I remember for the Amerks when he was down there, I think it was the COVID year, he actually had mono and missed like a bunch of time. And then he also got injured there, a shoulder injury maybe, and even in junior, he had a couple injuries that kept him out. But this guy, if I had to place a bet for any Sabre to score 50 goals, that's not Tage Thompson, it would be Jack Quinn. This guy just scores at every level. He puts the puck in the net at every level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's shifty. He is a great skater. He's going to be a weapon on the power play. And he's also, I would say, I mean, it depends on how highly you think of Alex Tuck. I think he's our best two-way winger too. So it's going to be very exciting to have another year of Jack Quinn, and please stay healthy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I think that's fair as far as like the best two way winger goes with him and Tuck. I think they're pretty close there. Definitely. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of
even
funny because I
earlier, it
kind
was
of
so
think
funny.
Benson's in that conversation
Oh
too.
fuck, dude! I wasn't even thinking about Zach Benson, but you might be correct, which is absolutely absurd. But I always get on like I'll listen to, let's say, we listen to Peters and Reve on their Andrew Peters and Craig Ray on their podcast, and man, they really got after the young players about their in defensive zone play, which was warranted because sometimes JJ Paterka likes to float out there. Don't get me wrong, one of my favorite players on our team, but he does like to not play a little defense. I don't think you can lump Jack Quinn in that category. Like they definitely spent a ton of time together the previous season, but Jack Quinn just plays a different game. He's good, man. He's going if he's healthy and on firing on all cylinders, he is going to be a weapon.
The nice thing
And then
about yeah,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing. I know, I'm sorry. I'm rambling. One more
No,
thing.
you're good. You're good.
I feel like you're going to have to give JJ Paterka 8 years after this year. Even if Quinn has a great year, I don't think you have to give him 8 years. I think you can bridge him.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think so too, for sure. I mean, unless he goes out and puts up like 50.
Yeah, if he puts up 50, then you're slapping him with an 8 year deal. But
Yeah,
if he goes out there and scores 30 goals and has 30 assists and he's a 60-point guy, you can kind of be like, listen, this was your first full season healthy. We'll give you a 3 year bridge deal and we'll come back in 2 years and renegotiate.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think that makes sense contractually. I'm, I mean, I'm a big fan of Quinn. The nice thing about Quinn this year is that he's gonna have a normal offseason. Like the injury that like the second injury that occurred towards the end of last season. Whenever it was, we still had like a month and a half left in the season. So, and it wasn't as significant of an injury. So, you imagine he's having normal offseason training, and when the puck drops, he's going to be ready. It's tough when, especially something as significant as an Achilles, that you can't start the season. You're ramping up, and then you play in the regular season. You're not going to be 100% when you come back. You're just not going to be.
Yep.
It's going to take time to ramp up. So even though you're getting games, you're not 100%. He still produced some points in those games. He didn't look his best, which I don't think anybody expected. But then you get hurt again, and then it's like, okay, we're going to shut him down. Well, now you imagine he's healthy, he's rehabbing, and he's going to come into the preseason and into the season conditioned and ready to go. And hopefully that does a lot for him mentally and physically. So a whole season of Jack Quinn would be nice to see up in the up with the Sabres. And I predicted on the last show that at 25 goals for him this season, I feel like that's a good number to be at. We all know he has a higher ceiling than that, but again, it just comes down to the health, and hopefully that fortune's on his side this year. Because if he gets labeled with another injury, like I mean, that's just shitty, man. Like eventually the law of averages have to work in your favor. So,
Yep. Yep.
all right, cool. I think that's it here. Unless there's anything
Do
else you
you?
wanted to bring up.
So you said sleepers, breakouts, and busts. Did you do a bust, or are we just gonna not try to curse the team here?
I didn't have a bus. I mean, if I had to like think of like a bus right now, like it'd probably be Samuelson,
Okay,
just because. I
that's
mean,
some low hanging fruit there.
dude, oh my god, low hanging fruit is so funny, like as a phrase, and it's exactly what I was gonna say, which is so funny. But like, it is. I mean, what would you say? I have another thought, but what would if you had to think of a bus?
I didn't really want to say like a player because I don't want to say Jason Zucker is going to come in here and not be good for us. Like that's lame to say, I think. But if I really had to pick a bust of what I think could be a bust, is Lindy's coaching. Like
Okay.
what if it doesn't like go together like the way that we think? Like if we're trying to be the New Jersey Devils and he's doing his Devils tactics and his early Dallas tactics and it's not really working. I feel like his runway with the fans, at least, I feel like anybody with the fans is gonna be they're gonna get on him. Like we've done this before. Like people are gonna say we've done this before, and I don't want that to happen, but I could see it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting. Obviously, it's not something that we want, but Maybe that's maybe that's all part of Adam's plan. Is he knows we'll give Liddy more runway if we than other coaches would.
Yeah, right.
But
Like if it's like maybe on the like if it's not going well, and it is busting a little bit, and maybe his thought is like, well, he's Lindy, so he can do no wrong.
yeah, exactly. All right, before we transition, I'm gonna throw out one honorable mention breakout real quick, and it's gonna be that new video board because I can't wait to watch some Tage bombs on that thing.
Dude, people are like ripping the Sabres. It's so cool to rip the Sabres now, which is like it's so easy to obviously,
Ripping them
but
about the video board.
yeah, because like oh that's the Jeff Skinner video board. That's where the money went from Jeff Skinner. Dude,
That's funny though. That's
I
kind of funny.
it is. I'm kind of sick of it, honestly. I'm gonna pop off a little bit here. I'm really sick of it. Like the negativity is bullshit. I'm 32 years old. I don't give a fuck about your little stupid Twitter jokes. I don't. It's boring. And one day this team's gonna be good. Like someday. I really hope they will be. But for now, because it's easy to pop off with your little fucking jokes. But the video board is cool.
So you're busting all of Sabres Twitter
Yeah,
to say Sabres
yeah.
Twitter.
Busting all our faces.
That's great. That's great. All right, so I'm gonna get to my Saber spotlight here because I'm super excited for this, and I'm interested to see if you will know what I'm about to bring up here. I saw this on Twitter probably I don't know handful of days ago. I don't know, I forget which account was talking about it, but let me find it real quick. Do you
So
know?
I'm so excited for this.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. If you know about this, I'm actually hoping you don't know about this because I want to tell you about it, but I do think you do, and I'm interested to see if
You
everyone
know,
listening right
well,
now knows about it.
I'm terminally online.
I
So
know, I know. All right, so does the name does the name Taro Tujimoto mean anything to you?
yeah, you've never heard this story before?
Dude, I have never heard this story,
You've
and
never heard this story.
and
This
it's
is
fantastic.
amazing. I love that you're like not a new Sabres fan, but like not a new like a kind of a newer hardcore Sabres fan over the last like couple years because you don't know the lore. Dude,
All right, so
I love that we're going to talk about this because this is a perfect summer topic.
1974 a hockey NHL hockey draft. So apparently there was like a new hockey league that was forming, and they were like competing with. There's a TSN show on this. It came out like two
Yeah,
months ago. Did you see it?
dude. Yes, I mean I've seen all the Taro stuff.
Okay,
I at one
I
point
love this.
I was so close to buying a Taro Sugimoto jersey at one point.
Yeah, they're awesome. Number
Yeah,
74
dude, this is
for
like
year 74.
one of the funniest hockey stories of all time. I love that. I love that we're about to talk about this.
Okay, so 1974, there apparently was there this competing league that was starting up. So the NHL wanted to perform or have the draft that year in secret so that this other league didn't poach all of the talent. So instead of having this big production, they did the draft by phone that year. So
Yep.
every team was separated, and you called your phone in, and then or you called your pick in. Then the commissioner would call the next team, and he'd go down the whole list. And so when the Sabres were fed up with it taking so long, that between this was in, I think was it the 8th round, the 11th round, something like that. So it was he was a late round pick 183 overall, and the Sabres were waiting forever. They were pissed off that the draft was taking this long, so they made up this fictional character who was
It's
based on a grocery store owner from one of the GMs, or not the GM, because the GM at the time was
it
Punch
was a
Imlach.
punch and walk. Yeah, no, it was Paul Weiland.
Yeah,
He's
Paul Weiland.
the assistant GM.
So he was director of communications,
Yeah.
right? And he told a story on this TSN show about how he used to on his way to work or whatever, he would always pass by this Sujimoto or Tujimoto grocery store, and these are real people. The Tujimotos are real people. So when they're all they're sitting there in their GM room, and they're all pissed off about the draft, so they create this fictional character. So Tujimoto pops in his mind. So he calls the grocery store, and he's talking to the owner, and he says, "What is a popular first name?" And he tells him Taro. He's like, "Taro is a very popular name right now." So they created this fictional character, this fictional hockey player, Taro Tujimoto, from the Tokyo Katanas. They got katana from the saber word for
So funny, dude.
or the Japanese word for sabers. It kind of so they drafted 183rd overall Taro Tujimoto from the Tokyo Katanas.
A fake player, completely
The
made up.
But the best part about this whole story is they went with it forever. Like they were like, okay, Taro Tujimoto, he's yours. And then
This is
they
the
had a
70s. This is the 70s,
the
man.
70s, yeah, but they had a locker for him and everything. They did interviews, like they dragged it out forever, and eventually the league found out, and then they struck the pick from the record books and things. But I looked into this when I saw it online. I'm like, this is so funny. I guarantee Ryan already knows, but I had to bring it
Dude,
up for those who
that's
don't know.
like part of Sabres lore and like NHL history lore, like as it is. Did you know that the Sabres were selling Tokyo Katanas hats for a while?
I need one of those.
It's so funny, man. And like I mean, it's awesome. Like imagine just making up a fake player. Like it is one of my favorite stories in all of hockey. And I'm so like it's so funny that it's attributed to us.
Yep. So if you're in KeyBank Arena this year and you see a Tujimoto jersey number 74, if you listen to this show, you now know what it's about if you didn't already know.
It's so good, man. It's such a funny story. I'm so surprised, but honestly happy that you had no idea because we got to talk about it today.
Yeah, I had no idea. And when I read it online, I'm like, is this a real thing? And then
Yeah.
I found
Yeah,
all
you
this. I'm
think
like,
it's like an AI generated fake story, but no, it's real.
yeah, that is so funny. That is
It's
so
almost
funny.
as crazy as when we snuck Mogilny out of Russia. Like we literally just like snuck him out. Oh man, you gotta watch the Mogilny documentary. That shit's crazy.
All right, that'll be next on my
Yeah.
list. All right, goofballs. Time for some goofballs here to close things out. We got a couple good ones. We got a couple steam and goofballs.
We had multiple football goofballs in the same day. The same day. Let me start. Let me start. My goofball of the week is former wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, current wide receiver for the Houston Texans, Stefon Diggs. Now, I really hate saying that the old people were right about something. I'm not ageist, but I'm kind of anti-old. So I hate admitting when I'm wrong and when the olds are correct. When I'm getting text about, Stefon Diggs from my dad telling me he's selfish, and I'm like, no, he's not. He's just a baller, and he wants the ball, and he's a hard-nosed player. Turns out the guy kind of sucks. And I love this. I loved his time on the Bills. Obviously, like he's one of our best receivers of all time. But it's clear it's clear to me in his statements, which he said that he didn't get the ball enough and that the Bills and the Vikings didn't want him traded. When he wants something, he gets it done. Dude, come on.
That he felt like things needed to shake, so he made
Yeah.
him shake.
Yeah, that was his exact verbiage. When I think things need a shake, I'll give him a shake.
Yeah.
Like number 1, you didn't perform. Like his targets, we were targeting him. I think actually I got into a discussion with this with a fantasy football podcaster that we listened to because he was saying in one of the podcasts about the Texans that, Diggs wasn't getting the targets that he was, he might get more targets now that he's in Houston than he was in Buffalo. No, 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 no. That is not the narrative. That is not the narrative at all. Diggs was getting over 8 targets a game over the final 10 games of the season, and Josh Allen was only completing a little bit over 50% of those with him. Like he was just not performing. It just wasn't happening. And I feel like the switch from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady didn't really change much in terms of like the passing game scheme because he was still the focal point.
Yeah.
So for him to go out there and cry about his usage in Buffalo and kind of throw the quarterback under the bus and just kind of be an overall diva, I hate to say it, but they were right, man. They were right, and I was wrong about him.
Especially when none of that has happened in reverse. Like Bean has never talked bad about him.
Allen,
McDermott,
especially.
yeah, Allen, none of these guys have ever said any of that stuff in reverse when in retrospect looking at it now, they were probably thinking it the whole time. And
Yeah,
I think us as fans, I tweeted this from our account too. I feel like for so long, the thing with Diggs was like you knew there was drama there the last couple years, but the fan in you doesn't want to believe it, right? So you
yep,
you push it to the corner, the back of your mind, and just be like, oh, it's not a big deal, and you make such a big deal out of the little snippets you see in training camp of them laughing and things and you're like, oh, it's all good, and I really don't think it was because he the problem is that, like you said, Brady comes in. It's it's impossible to just change a whole offensive identity
Right.
that quickly in the season. So Brady had wrinkles, but most of that offense was the same, with some changes sprinkled in there. And if you're as elite wide receiver as you are, you can make it work in any offense. Like
I can't
so,
like, remember when he dropped the ball against Kansas City in the
yeah,
playoffs? He went like
yeah,
this. Like,
yeah,
dude, you dropped the ball. Like, Allen didn't miss you there. You
yeah,
dropped it.
yeah. But all the stuff, the "you sure" quotes, like
Yep.
the
The
tweets,
Twitter stuff.
all this stuff. It's just like, I mean, as fans, like the amount of like just like exasperation like I felt with all that stuff and like how much more relieved I feel now. Like as a fan, I'm like I can only imagine how the team feels. They got to feel like they've shown like a weight has been lifted. Like I'm just excited to watch Josh Allen play just like free ball and just go to who's ever open and just dominate.
Do you remember when Maddie Glab got suspended by the Bills because
Yep.
of her like comments?
Yeah.
Because she said like something akin to, "Oh, he always acts like a jerk to the media," and like he was
Yeah.
caught on hot mic.
Yeah.
Dude, like the media talks and the media knows more than any of us because
Yep.
they're in the locker room every day. They talked. I bet that they talk to the players like off camera, off the record kind of thing. So they know. And for her to cut like that happened on a hot mic, and we were like, wow. Like I saw people being like, oh, she sucks. Like, why is she
Oh
reporting on the
yeah.
Bills? Like, she
Yeah.
shouldn't be there. Blah blah. She was just reporting. Well, not even reporting. She was just saying how she felt in the moment, and it kind of feels like that might be the consensus media sentiment about him. So it does kind of suck to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it's kind of like I just kind of related to like, all right, you had like a really cool friend for a few years, but then they turned out to be kind of a dick. And it's
Yeah,
like, all right,
like
well, like, we're probably better off if we just kind of go our separate ways type of thing.
yeah, that
And
that
the
kind of
fact that
that
we're
works.
paying him $32 million to not be on our team, like, kind of says a lot about, I think, where they were at. So,
Yeah, it just it was a bad breakup, but there's no need to go around like mudslinging your former team, man. Like that's not cool.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I just want to look up real quick when we play them. Is it week 5?
It's week 4.
I don't even think that's not a primetime game, though, is it?
No, it's Sunday 1 p.m.
Yeah, dude, they messed up there. They should have definitely made that a primetime game. Like, come on.
I only know that because it's in my head that that will be for the podcast people that don't know. That'll be the first people. That'll be the first football game that I watch with my son, who's being born on October 4th.
Let's
So
go.
it's gonna be me, my wife, the bunch of nurses, and my son watching the Bills and Josh Allen teabag the Texans.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome. That is week 5 though. That is our
It's
week 5
it's
game.
5, whatever, dude.
But it is October 6th, like you said. So that
Yeah,
will
it's
still be the
it's
first
that
game.
weekend.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna stick with the football theme for my goofball, and my goofball is none other than Mr. Ryan Clark
Oh,
and his
whoa.
awful, awful take about basically saying that the Bills fans and the Bills organization didn't appreciate Hyde and Poyer enough while they were here. It's one of those things where when I hear it, I'm I kind of pause myself for a second. I'm like, did he really just say that? Because it's just, and this is why I don't listen to national stuff anymore
Yeah,
because it's just,
national media is out to lunch, man. There's only like a select few that I'll give my time of day to.
and it's just kind of impossible to be in tune to like everything, right? You just can't know everything. So
Yeah,
like whether he knew this or not, and obviously he didn't because it's just not factually correct. But like you can't just go slinging dirt on the on an entire organization and a fan base and saying that they disrespected Hyde and Porter, which is the furthest thing from the truth, right? These guys are going to go up on the wall of fame one day. We absolutely love Hyde and Porter. We talked about how they're historically our best, safety tandem ever. On top of that, as soon as he starts getting backlash, he doubles down on it
Dude, that was
and tweets
that
that
was
the
the worst part.
and so then he doubles down and says how insecure can a fan base be?
Dude,
I
he
was
was
simply
tweeting at
saying that through his time there, the national media and the fans didn't give him the respect he deserves, and everyone's just like, "Hey, maybe you didn't, but
yeah,
but
maybe
we
you
did."
didn't know. But dude, it's so wild because he was replying to, Del Reed. He was replying to Greg Thompson. He
Yeah,
was replying to like other Buffalo people, like connected people about how why they were wrong and his take was correct. And it's like, no, 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 dude. Like like you said, the national media might not have respected these two, but we've been saying that they're the NFL's best safety tandem since like 2020, like 2019.
yeah, oh
So
yeah,
like where you guys might have missed the boat on that. And we love and yes, I did see him replying with, "Oh, you guys didn't appreciate him last year." They were old. They're old players. Like it's fine that they're not here anymore. And Micah Hyde's retired, and maybe he comes back later in the year. And it's fine that Jordan Poyer's in Miami. But they gave us so many seasons of amazing play. I will never forget when we were uh in the end zone in the cold game and Micah Hyde picked off that ball from Mac Jones in the corner of the end zone and we didn't even know that he intercepted it. Like really all what a breakup and he actually came down
insane,
with it. Most
insane.
insane play I've ever seen live.
Yep. It's
Like
just,
I'm sorry that you didn't appreciate them as a national media person, but Bills Mafia certainly did.
but I don't even think it's fair to say that we didn't appreciate them last year because it's not like, I mean, sure, you could say that like people like the fan base was saying like they just don't have it anymore. They
Yeah,
lost a
which is
step.
was fair, right?
Right. But that's every single player and like every single fan base will say that about every single player as they get older. It wasn't like
Yeah,
singling them out. So
right.
and Hyde didn't even barely play last year. And Poyer played and he still played pretty good.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna say a word I never like to hear, but fans gave him his flowers when he had his good games. So
you love, dude. You hate the giving flowers phrase. I love it.
I
It's funny.
cannot I cannot
But yeah,
stand.
you're right. Where it's like, yeah, like saying that a player lost a step is by no means disrespectful to like
No, not at
the
all.
player achieved. Like it just really kind of like set me off that like he was sitting here spouting this stuff, and then like Bill's Mafia was like, dude, you're wrong, and he's like, no, I'm not. You're wrong. Like you're
Yeah.
insecure. Like,
Oh,
okay,
dude, it
bud.
was brutal.
Like,
It was
okay,
brutal.
man. Like there are so many other people you should listen to that's not Ryan Clark, like Mina Kimes, she's unreal. Dan Orlovsky, he's unreal. Brian Baldinger, fuck, dude, there's so many guys. Mark Schlereth, there's so many amazing NFL people that don't just do clickbaity stuff like that and like
Yeah.
try to clap back. And
The Good
it
Morning
was just,
Football crew is good. I like
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. Peter Schrager and who's even on there anymore? I
Yeah,
haven't been
Kyle Brandt.
looking.
Kyle Brandt.
John Brandt's on there. Yeah, there's a lot of NFL people that are good analysts, and Ryan Clark is a good analyst. I feel like I like him.
Yeah, he
I,
just dropped
I
the ball here.
he just kind of dropped the ball, and it's okay. Like you said, you're not going to know everything, but we're not insecure, buddy. We're just
No,
not.
no. My big and my final point I want to drive home here is just like like I tweeted from our show account. It's like you're a sports analyst, dude. Like just stick to analyzing sports. Don't like call out a fan base and don't tell people what they're feeling. Like that's not your job. It's just
Yeah.
not your job. So like
Like
just
I,
stick to the
how can
analysis of the
someone,
game.
how can someone even know how a fan base feels about a player if they're not here?
Yeah. And also like using the word insecure is so wrong in that scenario because it's like we're coming at you because we're telling you how much we love these guys. We're not what are we insecure about?
Dude, every single week on Matt Bove and Sal Capacio's podcast, he's always like, Matt Bove is always like, I think that Micah Hyde's going to come back. Like,
Yeah.
we love this guy. Like, universally love this guy. And in everywhere, I saw that, DeMar Hamlin is starting at safety on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the replies, and everyone's like, oh, how long until Hyde comes back? Like, dude, we love these two guys. Like,
Yeah, what's the talk this entire offseason? It's like like what's gonna happen now that Hyde and Poyer aren't back there? Like, come on, like it's just it was the most irrelevant thing. And there's these every now and again, like I just see I don't respond to all this stuff because it's no big deal, but like every once in a while I see a tweet like this, and I have to say something because
I
it
know it's
just
like so hard
fires
not
me
to.
up inside because I'm like, oh my god, this was so wrong to say, but it is what it is. All right.
Yeah, you don't weed into the replies much.
No, 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 never. And I told you from the start with this show, like I will not. I'm not gonna run an account like that, like because
Yeah,
if we continue to put out content and get more engagement, like we're gonna have people that don't like what we say, and we're gonna have people that disagree with us, and whatever. It's like, well, that's fine.
yeah,
That's what it's
right. That's
for.
just
Like,
part of sports.
yeah.
I love the part I love the most about sports is the debate, but like not when you're coming at a whole fan base.
Oh yeah, I'm sure someone listening to this show I rolled me probably 10 times already tonight.
Yeah,
Just
right.
listening to this hour and 10 minute show, but it's fun nonetheless. But yeah, this set me off so badly. I had to get in there, but all right, man, this was fun. It was a jam packed show. Getting back into it, I think we're probably going to come at you in the coming weeks with some of our division breakdowns that were only a month away. Lineups are probably you would think pretty much set. As far as
Yeah,
going into the
pretty
next
much.
season, there's not going to be much movement here, so we can start getting into some of our season preview stuff. So look forward to that. Coming out in
Yeah,
the next few weeks there, and of course, if you haven't followed us on Twitter, follow us over there at Sabres Spotlight. I'm gonna put the information down low for our link tree, which we created between episodes, and also our Instagram account. So you can follow us there now as well. Of course, you can watch all these shows uploaded on YouTube each week as well. And if you have any questions for this show, submit them to the Gmail account, saberspotlight@gmail.com. All that information will be linked in the show notes below. But anything else you want to say here before we go, Ryan?
it was nice being back behind the mic again, my friend.
As always, and stay safe in the Sabrehood. We'll see everybody next week.
Peace.